Alright, ठीक है. So in the last class, we have discussed everything about my male reproductive organ. That is something we have discussed. Right now, we'll be going slightly beyond that. So we have discussed all the accessory glands, what you get to see. We have discussed all the labelings over here, right? So ये सब हमने पिछले क्लास में कहा था, and now it's very much clear to you. We know that the human reproductive system male reproductive system will have the testes as a primary organ, which are the site of making sperm, which are the site for my testosterone formation. Okay? We have seen why the testes have been kept in the scrotum and what is the advantage of that. That is also something we have discussed, right? Why they have been kept in the scrotum and what is the advantage of keeping them over there. Then after that, we have discussed what is going to be the anatomy of the testes. You have the number of lobules. You have 250 lobules. These are my 250 compartments. And within those compartments, you have your seminiferous tubules will be seen over there, right? Which are known to be the site where the male gametes have been formed. And this is also the location where you will get to see the Sertoli cells. तो यहाँ पे आपको Sertoli cells भी देखने के लिए आपको मिल जाता है. Right? Then Leydig cells are going to be there in the testes, in the interstitial space, and they are known to make the testosterone. So these are the things we have done. So I'm very sure that you don't have any concern with this. ये सारी चीज हमने की, इसको लेके कोई किसी को आपको यहाँ पे कोई कंसर्न नहीं है. ये सब चीज हमने यहाँ पे देखी थी. हमने देखा था कि कैसे आपके मेल गैमेट्स आपके जाते हैं फ्रॉम द सेमिफरस ट्यूब्यूल टुवर्ड्स द एपिडर्मिस एंड फ्रॉम देयर हाउ दे हैव बीन ट्रांसपोर्टेड. सो दैट इज समथिंग आल्सो वी हैव ऑल ऑब्जर्व. ठीक है, तो ये हमने देखा था. टेस्टोस्टेरोन क्या रखना, सेकेंडरी सेक्सुअल कैरेक्टर्स ये दे रहा है, एंड अलोंग विद दैट आल्सो प्रोमोटिंग द स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस. दिस इज समथिंग वी हैव सीन. So all these labelings are, if you just remember the picture, you will remember कि कहाँ से क्या आपका हो रहा है, and from where the sperm is going to in which the particular direction. And after that, we have seen some accessory glands. We have like seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland. इनमें से कौन सा gland था जो पैर में नहीं था? वैसे ही बता दो अनम्यूट करके.
Prostate gland.
Right. So prostate gland was the one which was not in a pair, and so these are the three glands which you get to see in the male reproductive part. तो ये सब हमने यहाँ पे किया था. Then we have seen how the spermatozoa gets traveled. कैसे travel करता है ये? How does this travel through your particular reproductive system? So this is something we have seen. Now, once we are done with that, now we can start with your. So these are the accessory glands. We have seen that already completed those glands. Corpus gland, prostate gland, spinal vesicle. We have seen all of them, right? Secretion याद रखना, कहाँ से क्या secretion आ रहा है आपका याद रखना है यहाँ पे. या fructose, calcium ion, citric acid, prostaglandin coming from seminal vesicles. I just want to add one more thing over here. This is all you find coming from the seminal vesicle. But along with that, also remember that you will also find something like your proteins. Some proteins will be also seen over here. These proteins can be your enzymes. So some proteins have been seen also over here, and these proteins are nothing but your enzymes. तो ये भी आपको मिल जाता है in the solution coming from the seminal vesicle से, जो आपका seminal plasma आपका आ रहा है, या इसे हम कहते हैं seminal fluid. That will also have a presence of a protein along with the all the remaining 4 things which have written over here. So this is something we have observed, solved some questions. Now, आज का ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या हमारा है यहाँ पे? टू अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ माय फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम. सो नाउ दैट इज समथिंग वी ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. Now, when we discuss a female reproductive system, the very first thing you understand that the primary female sex organ is always going to be the ovaries. So that is something you all know, that a primary female sex organ. So primary organ over here is going to be the ovaries. So they are going to be pair of ovaries. Okay. So you can see over here the ovaries are being kept over here, the pair of ovaries. They are the main organ. They are the primary organ or primary reproductive organ are going to be the ovaries, right? Along with that, you also have other structure as well, which will also play a very vital role in the other aspects of the development of the zygote. Like you have a uterus, there's going to be a fallopian tube, there's going to be a cervix, there's going to be a vagina. Okay. So we are going to understand them in slightly more detail, that what are the structure and what they're known for. So that is something we'll try to understand in terms of the female reproductive system. First of all, you have to know the primary organ, primary sex organ in the females is going to be the pair of ovaries. And these ovaries are primary because they are known to make two things. These are the ovaries which are going to play an important role in the formation of the ovum. Ovum is nothing but your egg. That is going to be the egg in the female. And second thing, this is a site for my hormonal secretion. So hormones have been secreted. So a number of hormones are being secreted from these ovaries. So these are the two things you have to know. So ovaries are the site from where I'll be finding the hormones will be secreted, the female sex hormone will be released, and this is the site where the ovum is being formed. Now, if you just go back to your 10th grade, if you try to recall what you have seen in the 10th grade, you will realize that hormones which are coming out from the ovaries or the female sex organ hormones are going to be two of them. You will have something like your estrogen, and there's one more hormone which is called as my progesterone. So these are going to be my two hormones which you have to remember are the hormones of my female reproductive system, and these hormones are the hormones which are actually coming from the ovaries. So that is something you have to know, right? Now we'll try to understand the ovary in detail, but first of all you have to know this basic thing about the ovary. Okay, now understand one thing, the female reproductive part will play a role in formation of an egg, but along with that, do understand this is also the region where I'll be finding the baby is going to develop. This is also the site where I'll be finding the zygote is going to develop, right? So all the development, nourishment of the zygote, embryo, everything is taking place in this particular female reproductive part. Okay, so you have an ovary over here, then you the way you have a uterus, you have a cervix, you have a vagina. Every one of them will have their certain role to play in the aspect of reproduction. So now let's move ahead and let's understand a few more things over here. So here we have just taken a detailed picture of uterus. So uterus will also have certain parts. Again, that is something we'll try to see later on in detail. We'll try to understand those things. Okay. Now there's one thing I can tell you over here when we discuss ovaries. Now, when you discuss about the ovaries, so ovary are going to have a length. So when you see a female ovary, the length is going to be around like 2 to 4 centimeter. 2 to 4 centimeter in length is going to be their size. That is the size of ovary you'll get to see, right? Ovaries are generally attached to the pelvic region. They have been attached. They have been attached to pelvic region and uterus with the help of ligament. With the help of ligament. So this is also one thing you have to remember, that this ovary is been attached to the pelvic area and also towards the uterus. And that all attachment is all happening with the help of the ligament. So you'll have number of ligaments over there. And because of this ligaments, you will find this ovary has been kept in a certain position. So आपके कई सारे ligaments आपके यहाँ पे होते हैं जो आप एक general picture में आप नहीं देख सकते. You cannot see them in a picture, but you have some structures over there which actually place the ovary in a certain way. It's going to place the ovary in a certain way over there, right? These two things you have to know. Now, if you observe the ovary will have outer region. So ovary will have a outer epithelium, right? So if you observe the ovary, so if they, let's say this is the ovary, let's say this is the ovary. So it will, the outer wall is going to be thin. The outer wall is going to be thin. Just wait a minute. The outer wall is going to be thin, and this thin outer wall is nothing but my epithelium, right? So they have a thin outer wall, or I could say thin outer epithelium is observed. Epithelium is observed. So you'll have outer thin epithelium and be seen in the ovary. There's some technical issues on my end, and that's why this is happening. Epithelium. That's one thing you have to know. Now, if you see the ovary, now you will get to realize that ovary itself will have two regions. अगर आप ovary को अंदर से अगर आप देखते हो, अंदर वाले side के अगर आप इसे observe करते हो, so it will also have a two regions over here. You will have an outer region which is called as my cortex. So you'll have an outer region which has been called over here as a cortex. Let me move on to the next slide because you have epithelium. All right, let me show you over here. See, so now what you will get to see in this female reproductive system will have certain parts, right? So you have a pair of ovaries, you have a pair of fallopian tubes, you have uterus, there's going to be a vagina. So these are the structures of the female reproductive system. Along with that, you will also have an external genitalia. So you will have an external genitalia in the pelvic region. So you have external genitalia, something we'll see that later. So there's also going to be a presence of a external genitalia, which can be seen in the pelvic region. So these are the structures you will find in the female reproductive part, and these are the structure which you have to like thoroughly understand. Now, these parts of the system along with the pair of mammary glands. So these part of the system along with the pair of mammary glands. So there are always going to be a pair of mammary glands which you find in the female reproductive system. And mammary gland is something you know that it is the site where the milk secretion and formation will be happening, which is used for the nourishment of the newly born offspring. So your mammary glands are going to be there, are integrated structurally and functionally to support ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth, and childcare. So all these structures, all the structures which you have seen right now, right from your ovaries, right from your fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, all the structures along with my particular mammary glands. These structures actually play a very important role in fertilization, ovulation, childcare, birth, and pregnancy. So that is something you have to understand that they all have a role to be played in their respect. तो हर किसी का अपना अपना यहाँ पे एक रोल होगा, एक सर्टन काइंड ऑफ रोल आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए आपको इनके अंदर आपको मिल जाएगा. So that's again a very important statement which you have to know that all of them will have a certain role to be played. Now, let's understand few things. So when you see the ovaries over here, the ovaries are located on each side of the abdomen. They are located on either side of the abdomen over here. Each ovary is around 2 to 4 centimeters in length and is connected by pelvic wall and uterus by the ligament. Something I've already discussed. They are connected to the pelvic wall and the uterus with the help of the ligaments. So that is something you can see over here. Right? Now, have a look at this picture. So this is the outer epithelium which I was trying to make over there, which was not happening. So you have the outer epithelium, which is my cuboidal epithelium. And then what you get to see when you observe the internal of the ovary, you observe the inner side of the ovary, you will have two regions. You will have the outer cortex. You will have the outer cortex. तो यहाँ पे आपको मिलेगा देखने के लिए आपको यहाँ पे outer cortex और center में जो आपका area यहाँ पे that is my inner medulla. The center area is going to be the site which is called as my inner medulla. So you have an outer cortex and you have an inner medulla. Now you have to know this thing very clearly that inner medulla is a region where you get to see a large amount of blood vessels, nerves and lymphatic vessel. ये बात याद रखना कि आपका जो inner medulla यहाँ पे है इसके अंदर आपको मिलेगा देखने के लिए आप यहाँ पे blood vessels. Here you will get to see a presence of blood vessels. यहाँ पे आपको blood vessels आपको मिलेंगे यहाँ पे. You'll get to see your lymphatic vessels. You can get to see some lymphatic vessels over there as well. And you also get to see here over here nerves. कई सारे न्यूरॉन्स भी आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए आपको मिल जाएंगे. तो ये बात याद रखना that is something I will find in the inner medulla. Okay, that is why it is called as my neurovascular structure. Vascular मतलब blood vessel, neuro मतलब neurons. So all the structures can be seen over here. On the other hand, when you talk about the outer cortex, this is a site where the ovarian follicle are being formed. Follicles क्या होते हैं, कैसे बनते हो हम बाद में देख लेंगे, but याद रखना ये वो साइट है जहाँ पे ovarian follicle आपके यहाँ पे बनाए जाते हैं. So this is something you have to remember that you have an outer epithelium, you have a cortex, you have a medulla. Medulla is the innermost part which will have blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerves, and cortex area is the outer region which will be site of my ovarian follicle formation. तो बहुत डिटेल में क्वेश्चन आएगा नहीं, लेकिन आपको आ सकता है that ovary will have two regions. What are the two regions? So you should know that you have an outer cortex and you have an inner medulla. इतना आपको मालूम होना चाहिए. This is something you all should be familiar with. ठीक है. Now wait a minute. तो ये हमने यहाँ पे देख लिया, ये हमने यहाँ पे देख लिया. Now let's talk about this. एक सेकंड रुको बेटा. Just wait a minute, people. Okay. Now let's talk about my fallopian tube. So now we have seen what are the ovaries are going to be over there. Now let's discuss something about the fallopian tube over here. अब जब हम यहाँ पे fallopian tube की बात करते हैं तो fallopian tube is also which has been also called as my oviduct. So fallopian tube जो आपका होता है इसको आप even बोलते हो as it has been also called as your oviduct. Is also called as your, I don't know what's wrong. Is also been called as your oviduct. Okay, that's one thing you have to know. Now, what this fallopian tube is going to be like, what its purpose is going to be. So, first of all, fallopian tube, when you discuss about the fallopian tube, you have to know that the length of the fallopian tube is going to be around like 10 to 12 centimeter. So, 10 to 12 centimeter यहाँ पे इसका हो जाएगा आपका length. So, 10 to 12 centimeter is going to be the length of the fallopian tube. So, that is one thing you have to know. ठीक है. सो यहाँ पे ये जो स्ट्रक्चर आपके सामने है, this structure in front of you, this is your fallopian tube. It will have a length of around like 10 to 12 centimeter. Now the fallopian tube itself will have three parts. इसके अंदर आपको three parts आपको देखने के लिए आपको मिल जाते हैं. तो चलिए वो three parts क्या है उन्हें हम यहाँ पे देखते हैं. So you will find this particular part over here, this funnel shaped part जो आपको यहाँ पे मिलेगा, that part here is called as my infundibulum. This funnel shaped part which you can get to see over here, this part here is called as my infundibulum. Infundibulum. ये जो funnel shaped part आपको यहाँ पे दिख रहा है, that is called by infundibulum. अब ये infundibulum आपको यहाँ पे दिख रहा है, it has some finger-like projection. So this infundibulum is going to have some finger-like projection, and this finger-like projection जो आपको यहाँ पे दिख रहे हैं, those finger-like projection are called as my fimbriae. So you have some finger-like projections over there, and those finger-like projections over here are called as my fimbriae. So this finger-like projection are the one which actually help taking up the ova from the ovary and send it towards the fallopian tube. So yaad rakhna, you have the first structure you have to remember is going to be near to the ovary is going to be your infundibulum. So the first structure near to the ovary is always going to be your infundibulum. So that is something you have to first of all know. All right, so this is going to be the first word which we have seen, which is going to be closer to the ovary. Right, that's your infundibulum. Infundibulum के बाद you will have a small narrow area, wider area, after this you will have a wide area. Just wait a minute people. आई थिंक आपको भी यहाँ पे स्लाइड्स आपकी वो हो रही है ना, स्विच हो रही है ना, आपको भी आई थिंक दिख रहा होगा.
यस सर.
2 मिनट रुक जाओ, उसको थोड़ा हम फिक्स करते हैं यहाँ पे. Let me see how we can fix this. Let's hope that this will work. Let me connect this with the charger as well. Okay, so you have an infundibulum, which is the second part. Then you have a slightly wider area over here. That wider area is going to be called as my ampulla. So then you have a slightly wider area right above the infundibulum, and that wider area is called as my ampulla. And then you have, after the ampulla, you will have the other region above that, and that above region after the ampulla will be called as my isthmus. So 3 part has to be remembered in the fallopian tube. You will have an infundibulum, you have an ampulla, and then you have a isthmus. Now the thing is, if they ask you that which part is going to be closer to the ovary, then answer is going to be infundibulum. Infundibulum जब यहाँ पे होता है, ये मेरा close होगा मेरे ovary से, right? If they ask you what is my fimbriae, so you always have to tell them that fimbriae is going to be a finger-like projection. Fimbriae is going to be your finger-like projection, and this finger-like projection जो आपको यहाँ पे मिलेगा, इसका एक काम आपको याद रखना है, and that one role is going to be that it can pick up the ova from the ovary and can send towards the fallopian tube. ये इसका यहाँ पे काम होता है. वो काम हम एक बार फिर बाद में देख लेंगे, बट ये पहले 3 नाम आपको यहाँ पे याद रखना है, and these 3 are all going to be a part of my oviduct. Now the question is that what is my oviduct is known for. ओविडक्ट एक मेन चीज के लिए, किस चीज के लिए आपको यहाँ पे जाना जाएगा, तो याद रखना ओविडक्ट जो आपका होता है, जिसे हम फेलोपियन ट्यूब कहते हैं, योर फेलोपियन ट्यूब और व्हाट यू कॉल इट एज अ ओविडक्ट इज अ साइट वेयर द फर्टिलाइजेशन टेक्स प्लेस. सो याद रखना कि जब आप बात करते हो ओविडक्ट के बारे में, सो यू हैव अ रीजन, यू हैव अ isthmus, ampulla रीजन. ये वो रीजन होता है जहां पे होता है फर्टिलाइजेशन. दिस इज अ रीजन वेयर आई विल बी फाइंडिंग द फर्टिलाइजेशन विल टेक्स प्लेस. सो दैट शुड बी क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू दैट isthmus ampulla region is a region where I will be finding the fertilization will takes place. ये वो आपका लोकेशन होगा, ये वो आपकी साइट होगी जहां पे बेसिकली फर्टिलाइजेशन होते हुए आपको पे मिलेगा. सो दैट मीन्स दिस इज अ साइट वेयर द मेल गैमेट विल कम. सो मेल गैमेट ट्रैवल करके यहाँ तक आता है. So male gamete travel करके यहाँ तक आएगा, and then you will find the fertilization will take place over here. तो ये एक important point है जो आपको यहाँ पे याद रखना है. That is one of the important thing you will find over here. Okay, इतनी information अगर आप याद रखते हो, then I don't think you will miss any question based on this. याद रखना what is my finger like projection and what is my finger like like projection which are there are going to play the role. They are going to collect the ova from the ovary and will send into the fallopian tube. याद रखना आपका fallopian tube से जो ova होगा that will reach towards the uterus. From the fallopian tube the ova is going to reach towards the uterus. So that is something you have to always remember in that. Okay, so इतनी बात पहले आपको इसके अंदर याद रखनी है. This is one thing you have to know about the fallopian tube. Now after fallopian tube, what do you get to see? The next part which you will find over here is your uterus, right? The next thing you are going to see is going to be the uterus over here. So this part over here is going to be the uterus. So let's try to talk about the uterus over here, right? अगर हम यूट्रस की बात करें, it is a single large muscular highly vascular inverted pear shaped structure. So uterus basically highly vascular inverted pear shaped वाला आपको structure यहाँ पे देखने के लिए मिलेगा. It is present between the pelvis. It is present in the pelvis between the bladder and the rectum. So it is between the bladder and the rectum and present in the pelvis. Okay. Now the question is कि uterus जिसे हम यहाँ पे even worm कहते हैं, what it is mainly known for. So uterus is the site for my implantation. याद रखना uterus आपका वो लोकेशन होता है जहां पे implantation होते हुए आपको दिखेगा. So uterus is a site where the implantation takes place. So this is a site for implantation. This is a site for implantation. Implantation. So that is something which has to be remembered, that this is a location where I'll be finding the zygote will get implanted. Ab jahan pe, when I say implantation, that means you have to understand that once fertilization has taken place, then the zygote is getting formed. And that zygote has to be implanted in the uterus. And this is a location where I'll be finding implantation will take place. Okay. So now that is something you have to know about the uterus. Now uterus itself will have three regions. Uterus itself will have something like your three regions will be seen in the uterus. So let's try to see over here itself that what are those three regions. Do you have one more picture? I do have one more picture, right? So here you can see the uterus will have three regions over here. The three regions are going to be, you have the outermost. The outermost is called as my perimetrium. The outermost is called as my perimetrium. यहाँ पे perimetrium लिखा हुआ क्या आपको देख पा रहे हो आप लोग यहाँ पे? Are you able to see that? या नहीं देख पा रहे? Let me write it down over here. So you have something like देख पा रहे हो? So outermost is your perimetrium. Now perimetrium, when you talk about perimetrium, it is a thin layer, right? It is going to be a thin layer. So outermost layer, perimetrium is going to be a thin layer. Okay. Then you will have the second thing you will get to see, the second layer, the middle layer is my myometrium. So the second layer or the middle layer over here is my myometrium. Now this myometrium is going to be thick. First of all, you have to know that this myometrium is going to be thick and made up of smooth muscles. So that is the two things you have to know, that your myometrium is something which is made of it is going to be thick and made of my smooth muscle. What myometrium is known for? So myometrium is something which is known for rhythmic contraction during the parturition. So जब childbirth हो रहा होता है, during the event of childbirth, this layer will undergo rhythmic contraction. And because of the rhythmic contraction, you will find the baby is being pushed outside the body. So ये बात याद रखना that myometrium is something जिसका mainly काम कब आता है? It is well known for the rhythmic contraction. That is during the parturition. That means during the process of my childbirth. यहाँ पे आपका contraction आपको देखने के लिए मिलेगा. Then you have the third term, which is the innermost layer. So then you have your innermost layer, that is going to be the endometrium. So innermost layer is going to be your endometrium. So innermost layer आपके यहाँ पे हो गया आपकी endometrium. Now endometrium is something which is well known for, it is very clearly or well known for implantation in a real sense. So यहाँ पे when you talk about implantation ना, so endometrium is a site where the implantation takes place. This is the innermost layer and this is a location where I'll be finding the zygote will get implanted. So you have to know that endometrium is going to be a glandular layer. It is going to be it will be a very like glandular layer. So it is going to be a glandular layer. Glandular layer. Now why we say them say it as a glandular layer? Because these layer will have number of glands over there. It also have number of blood vessels, but number of glands have been seen over there to be present in this particular area, and that's why we call them as a glandular layer. So endometrium is a site. याद रखना endometrium आपकी वो site है जहाँ पे आपका real में आपका implantation आपका होगा. So when the zygote is getting formed, the zygote has to be implanted into the endometrium. Okay, and please remember this thing. We'll discuss this thing again. That myometrium is a middle layer, and this layer is known for smooth rhythmic contraction. It is known for smooth rhythmic contraction, which is going to help in the propulsion of the baby during the childbirth. तो ये चीजें आपको यहाँ पे याद रखनी है. And perimetrium is the outer layer. Perimetrium is something which will be outer layer, which is something which is going to remain. It's a thin layer. इसमें कुछ आपको ज्यादा होते आपको नहीं मिलेगा. तो ये बात आपको याद रखनी है. These are the few things you have to remember in terms of the uterus and what is your uterus is been known for. So perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium are the three things you have to know in this. Okay. Now, the lower part through which the uterus opens is going to be the vagina, is a cervix, and the cavity of the cervix is called as a cervical gland. Now we can ignore this right now. I'll tell you something over here. See. So now you have seen over here you can see again the uterus in this, right? Perimetrium, external thin layer, myometrium, layer of smooth muscle, and then you have endometrium, layer of highly vascular glandular connective tissue, right? Highly vascular, I hope you understand. That means number of blood vessels can be seen, and it will be a glandular layer will be seen over here. So these are the three things you have to know, and please remember इनका role यहाँ पे क्या होता है, what is their role is going to be, that should be clear to all of you. Myometrium is going to give you the rhythmic contractions. I can write over here, they're going to give you the contractions during parturition. Now parturition basically means what? During the childbirth event, this contraction will be seen happening in the myometrium. That is one thing. Endometrium is a site where the implantation will take place. Something we'll discuss that later. हाँ जी तनिष्क बताइए.
So the oxytocin से होता था ना?
सुनो. Oxytocin is a hormone. Now that hormone will come from the hypothalamus or from the posterior part of pituitary gland. From there it will go and tell the myometrium to undergo contraction. So myometrium के अंदर contraction होगा, लेकिन वो contraction करने के लिए बोल कौन रहा है? Oxytocin. ठीक है, तो आ रहा है आपका, आपके ब्रेन से आपका आ रहा होगा ऑक्सीटोसिन, ब्रेन से इन द सेंस आपके पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी से वो आएगा आपके यहाँ पे, और वो आके बोलेगा आपके स्मूथ मसल्स को टू अंडरगो कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, एंड देन यहाँ पे जो मायोमेट्रियम होगा वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना चालू करेगा. ठीक है, सो याद रखना वो हार्मोन है, और वो हार्मोन अपना इस तरह से काम करेगा. राइट, okay, so this is something you will get to see, this is something you will get to see over here. Now once, so that is where the uterus part is going to get completed. Now after the uterus there is going to be presence of a small area called as the cervix, right? So you'll have a small region of your cervix, and then you'll have the vagina. Now vagina is the area where the gametes have been deposited. Vagina is the area where the gametes have been deposited, so that is one thing you have to know. Now there's one more thing you have to remember here is that you have your cervix over here. You will have a small region, that is my cervical canal over here. So you have a cervical canal plus your vagina. So vagina plus cervical canal are called as my birth canal. Vagina plus cervical canal are called as my birth canal. They are called as your birth canal. This is a region through which you will be finding that babies are going to pass and going to come out. So that is going to be your cervical canal and a vagina are collectively over here called as a birth canal. Right, now there is a sentence written over here, vaginal orifice. Now this area, the tip of the vagina is called as a vaginal orifice. So this tip over here is called as the vaginal orifice. And this vaginal orifice, which is the terminal part of the vagina, is partially covered by a mucous membrane. That mucous membrane is called as the hymen. So hymen is a mucous membrane which covers this particular vaginal orifice. So that is also one thing you have to know, that this is something which is going to be covering the vaginal orifice. That is called as my mucous membrane, is called as the hymen. So these are the structures you have to know. So after uterus, you will have the cervix, then you have the vagina. Cervix will have a small cervical canal, and cervical canal plus vagina is called as a birth canal, through which you will find the babies are like, or the newly developed fetus is going to pass outside the body. So that is one thing which you all have to remember. This is one thing you have to know. So these are the structures. They are like very simple basic structures which you all have to remember in terms of the फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम. तो इतनी चीजें पहले आपको इसके अंदर आपको क्लियर कट आपको यहाँ पे याद रखनी है. इतनी अगर आपको बातें याद रही है तो आगे की समझ में आपको कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगी. So that is something we have seen. So now we have seen the ovary, fallopian tube, uterus, and we have seen the cervix and the vagina. Right? Cervix, vagina does not have a very, like, they do not have a separate kind of role. Vagina is an area where the male gametes have been deposited, and cervix is nothing but a small area which is called a cervical canal, through which you will find the offspring is going to pass during the childbirth. Okay. Now, so this is something we are done with. Now you have to tell me, अब आप लोग मुझे बताओ कि इन सारे areas में से which area is a site where the fertilization takes place?
Fallopian tube.
Fallopian tube.
Isthmus ampulla junction.
Right. So you have a isthmus ampulla region or a isthmus ampulla junction. This is a site where I'll be finding my fertilization is going to take place. Now tell me which particular area is a site where I'll be finding the implantation will take place?
Endometrium.
Endometrium. So endometrium is a location where I'll be finding the implantation is going to take place, right? So basically, in the uterus, you have a 3-layer endometrium, perimetrium, and myometrium. So endometrium is the site where the implantation is going to take place. Now, tell me, if you observe the internal structure, of the ovary, right? If you observe the internal structure of the ovary, then what are the two regions you will get to see? बताइए.
Outer cortex.
Outer cortex.
Outer cortex and inner medulla. बिल्कुल सी. अगर मैं आपके if I talk about the ovary, then you'll always find you have an outer cortex and you have an inner medulla. Now tell me, out of this cortex and medulla, which area will have blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatic vessels?
Medulla.
Inner medulla.
Medulla.
Right. So याद रखना, you'll have the outer region is going to be the outer cortex, and the center वाला part जो आपका होता है यहाँ पे, जो भी आपको center वाला part मिलेगा यहाँ पे, that's going to be the medulla. And you should very clearly know that is going to be what they are going to be known for. Now tell me, what is the length of a fallopian tube?
10 to 12 centimeters.
10 to 12 centimeter. Okay.
10 to
बहुत बढ़िया. Right. बिल्कुल सही. Tell me, what is the role of a fimbriae? fimbriae का रोल क्या होता है? भूल गए. Collection of what?
It's a finger-like projection.
They are like finger-like projection. What is the role?
So
Collect
picking
the
up
ova and
ova
send
to the
towards
ovary.
the uterus.
Right. Collecting the ova from the ovary and then pushing it towards the fallopian tube. That is what the fimbriae is going to be known for. That is what it has been known for, right? Now tell me something. अब मुझे यहाँ पे एक बात बताओ. अगर मैं यहाँ पे let's say if I cut the fallopian tube over here, if I make a cut over here, will I find that ova formation will stop? Will the ova formation will stop if I make a cut over here in the fallopian tube? मेरा सवाल समझ आ रहा है आपको? मैंने fallopian tube को यहाँ से कट कर दिया कैंची से. मुझे बताओ, in that particular animal, will you find ova formation will be seen or not? ova formation होगा या नहीं होगा?
No, sir.
नहीं होगा. कुछ
होगा.
लोग कह रहे होगा, तनिष्क कह रहे होगा, मंताशा कह रहे नहीं होगा, और कुछ होगा नहीं होगा? गायत्री and they are like पता नहीं. बोलो, what will happen?
Sir, होगा.
ओवा फॉर्मेशन आपको होते हुए आपको मिलेगा. आई टेल यू क्यों मिलेगा. बिकॉज ओवा फॉर्मेशन आपका हो रहा है आपका इन द ओवरी के अंदर. इसको तो हमने कोई अफेक्ट नहीं हो रहा. सो अगर आप इसको कट कर रहे हो तो ओवा फॉर्मेशन तो आपका होगा ही होगा, बट ये नहीं होगा कि ओवा विल रीच अप टू द, कभी भी आपका ओवा आपका यूट्रस तक पहुंच नहीं सकता. देयर इज नो चांस दैट ओवा कैन रीच अप टू द यूट्रस बिकॉज यू हैव मेड अ कट ओवर हियर. ओके, सो याद रखना, ओवा फॉर्मेशन आपका होगा, बिल्कुल आपका ओवा होगा यहाँ पे, बिकॉज ओवरीज आर वेरी मच वर्केबल ना, दे आर वर्किंग राइट नाउ देयर. But you will never find that ova has any possibility of reaching towards the uterus, and there is also no possibility of fertilization. मेल गैंड भी तो वहां पे नहीं आ सकता. अगर आपने यहाँ पे कट कर दिया तो, अगर आपने यहाँ पे कट किया तो मेल गैंड थोड़ी वहां पे पहुंचेगा. तो दैट इज समथिंग यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. प्लीज रिमेंबर, ऐसा अगर कभी क्वेश्चन आता है घुमा फिरा के, देन याद रखना दैट नो, ova formation will happen but there is no chance of fertilization. Right now, quickly tell me, from ovaries you are finding 2 hormones are coming out. कौन से थे वो 2 हार्मोन, जल्दी बताओ.
Estrogen and progesterone.
Estrogen and progesterone. Very good. ये मेरे 2 हार्मोन थे which are coming out from those particular ovaries. That is what you have to know. इतनी information यहाँ पे याद रखना. This is the information which you have to know. If you remember this information, then I don't think you will be like missing out any question. Then you have something like the external genitalia, जिसको हम even कहते हैं as a vulva. Now we won't be spending more amount of time on this because you don't really find questions coming from this particular part. But let's quickly go through this. Right now, I need to discuss your external female external genitalia. So let's see what are the things we'll get to see. Now let me show you in, like, I'll just run through the statements over here. So what are the things we'll get to see over here? You will have something like the mons pubis, labia major, labia minor, hymen, and clitoris. So these are the few structures which you will find as a part of my female external genitalia. Now, can anyone tell me what was the male external genitalia? Male external genitalia क्या था?
Penis.
Right, penis was the male external genitalia. ठीक है, फीमेल ने आपके ये सारे आपके यहाँ पे नाम है. Now when we discuss a mons pubis, ना, it is nothing but a fatty tissue. It's a fatty tissue over here. It is a fatty tissue with pubic hair. With रुक जाओ, लैपटॉप वापस से परेशान करने लगा। लैपटॉप इज लाइक कि ठीक है आपने पढ़ा लिया 15 मिनट बैक टू बैक, अब नहीं।
Now it's his time.
now it's his time. आज काफी क्लास शांत शांत लग रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों।
So आपने reactions off कर रखे थे।
अरे अच्छा, अरे हाँ, मैंने वो रिएक्शन इसलिए ऑफ किए थे ताकि कई बार वही यू मेक सम चेंज ओवर देयर एंड इट स्टार्ट्स बिहेविंग ओवर देयर, सो दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव टू स्टॉप दैट। बट अगेन वापस वो कर रहा है, अब रिएक्शंस ऑन करना पड़ेगा। क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? ऑलराइट, सो यू हैव अ फैटी टिश्यूज with the pubic hair, with pubic hair. That is something you find in the mons pubis, right? So it's a fatty tissue with a pubic hair. That's what you'll get to see. Then you have a labia majora that are like two coverings. It's like a two fleshy covering. So labia majora, if you just observe that, if I have to draw a picture over here, so it's like a two fleshy covering, and those two fleshy covering external to the vagina are my labia major. So labia majora are the two fleshy covering you will get to see. Okay. Similarly, you have a labia minora. Labia minora is again it's a two covering. It's a two folded covering, which is inner to the labia majora. So if you have a labia majora, which is a green one, then I can draw a labia minora on the inner side. So the inner side, again it's a covering. It's a two layered covering you will get to see, but it is on the inner side. So that is called as my labia minora. So yellow वाला आपका होगा यहाँ पे labia minora. And the green one is my labia majora. Okay. So you can see over mons pubis is a cushioned fatty tissue covered by a skin and a pubic hair. That's what you'll get to see. Labia majora are the fleshy folds of the tissue which extend down the mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. And they're seen surrounding the vaginal opening, right? The labia minora are paired of folds tissue under the labia majora. So बिल्कुल जैसे मैं आपको बोला यहाँ पे कि labia majora के अंदर वाले side on the inner side you will be having a presence of a labia minora. That is the yellow one. And let's make over here, you will have a vaginal opening over here. So there's going to be a vaginal opening over here. Right, so there's going to be a vaginal opening. We can आज लैपटॉप परेशान कर रहा है पर्पसली। अच्छा, बाय द वे आप लोग की स्कूल्स अभी किन किन के स्कूल्स अभी चालू है? तनिष्क आपका स्कूल चालू है या छुट्टी है?
सर छुट्टियां चल रही है।
आपकी छुट्टी है। संचिता आपका? संचिता, शिखा?
सर बंद है।
स्कूल बंद है, चलो वेरी गुड। मंताशा आपका? आपका तो चालू है ना मंताशा स्कूल?
हाँ सर।
एंड गायत्री आपका स्कूल?
Sir, close.
Close, very good. So there is a presence of this vaginal opening over here. Okay, so the orange one is a vaginal opening, and above the vaginal opening there is going to be presence of the urethra. That is a urinal opening over here. So right, so the vaginal, and then there's going to be urethra over here. So, okay. So these are the few labelings you have to, like, you don't even have, they are not going to ask a question based on a labeling over here. They are very rarely you are going to get question based on that, but you have to know some traits. Like labia majora kahan aata hai, labia minora kahan aata hai, that's something you have to know. And then you have to know what is the clitoris. So what you get to see now, what you get to see over here, let me show you here only. Again, everything is vanished. Everything is vanished. जो भी draw किया था सब गायब हो गया. Okay, let me tell you something over here. See, so now you have a clitoris and the hymen over here. Now, opening of vagina is often covered by partially by a membrane called as a hymen, something we have already discussed. Now, this one thing you have to know about the hymen, that presence or absence of hymen is not a sign of the sexual activity, because it has been observed that hymen generally gets broken during the first sexual intercourse, But if you also find the hymen can get broken down even while doing some kind of physical activity like a horse riding or some kind of stretching exercise. So hymen is not an indicator of any kind of sexual activity. So its absence or presence does not actually give a clear-cut evidence. Now I'm repeating this statement because you can find such statement coming as a part of a question. So that is something you have to know. They are not an indicator of person being sexually active or not active. Okay. So that is one thing you have to know. Right. Then you have the clitoris over here. The clitoris is a finger-like structure. Clitoris is a finger-like structure and it is lies upper junction of the two labia minora above the urethral opening. So it is something you will be finding right above the urethral opening. You will have that clitoris. So if we just draw again, so if that's the outer labia majora, and if this is the labia minora, after that we have drawn, let's say we have this vaginal opening, the blue one, and you have your opening of a urethral opening, right? So right above that, there can be presence of a finger-like projection. So there will be above that over here, you'll have this finger-like structure. And this finger-like structure is called as the clitoris. So this is called as my clitoris. Now, please know that clitoris is homologous to the human penis or male penis. So clitoris is going to be the homologous to male penis. Homologous to male penis. Okay, so that is something you have to know. So you can find such question coming up. So that's why you have to know that it's going to hold to the male penis. This is one thing you have to know. So these are the structures which you have to remember in terms of the external genitalia, right? Now the next thing which we have to look into is going to be the mammary glands. So next thing we have to look into, next thing we have to understand is going to be the mammary glands. Okay, before that, there will be two more glands which you have to see over here. You have something like your Bartholin gland and you have a skin gland, right? So Bartholin gland, which is also called as my greater vestibular gland, or skinny gland, which is also called as my lesser vestibular gland. Now let's understand what they do. Now, where is the location of this gland? Now, these glands are located nearby the vagina. Okay, so I can, like, in a very short, I can explain this. These glands you find near the vagina. So they are located near the vagina. They are located near vagina. And collectively, we can say that they are known to release some lubricants. They are going to secrete some mucus-like secretion. So they are going to secrete mucus-like secretion. And this mucus-like secretion is something which is going to play the role in lubricating the vagina. So this mucus secretion is known for the lubricating vagina. So this is something you have to know, right? Bartholin gland or skinny gland, both of them is going to have a secretion of a mucus-like secretion, and that secretion is going to lubricate the vagina. That's one thing you have to know. That's the only thing you have to know. Okay. So ये दो gland आपको मिलेंगे near by the vagina. You can find them present over there, right? On the particular skinny area, you can find these two glands can be seen. Now let's talk about the mammary glands. Now jump onto the idea of a mammary glands and let's try to talk about them. So mammary glands are the structure which are going to play the major role in during the nursing of the baby, post birth of the child, or I can say post parturition. The nourishment to the baby has been given with the help of with the help of the mammary glands. The nursing of the baby can be done. Now, when we discuss a mammary gland, there are few things you have to know. Mammary gland is a glandular tissue. It's a glandular tissue. It's a glandular tissue, right? And it has quite a good amount of fat deposition. It will also have quite a good amount of fat deposition. So it's a glandular tissue and it will have a good amount of my fat deposition. So that's what you will get to see in the mammary glands. So mammary glands are going to have a fat deposition and आपको glandular tissue आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए मिल जाता है. तो ये दो चीज आप यहाँ पे याद रखो. Now, what is that glandular tissue and what it has been known for? Okay. Now, when you observe a mammary gland, so if I have to show you, if whenever someone observe a mammary gland is going to be having a number of lobules. Right. So when you discuss mammary gland is going to have around 15 to 20 lobules can be seen in that. So mammary gland is going to have around 15 to 20 lobules. Lobules are seen. Now, what these lobules are going to have, what these lobules are, or these memory lobules are going to have, these lobules are going to have a presence of some cells. And the cells you find in the lobules are my alveoli cells. So in these lobules are going to be made up of, lobules are going to be having like a grape-like cells. So you'll have a large number of cells over there. So you have certain cells. In lobules, the cells are observed. And these cells are known as alveoli. Okay, so mammary gland is going to have a large number of lobules. So like 15 to 20 lobules we'll see over there, and each lobule will have a large number of cells, and these cells are called as the alveoli. So alveoli is a site where the milk formation will happen. This is a location where the milk formation takes place. So alveoli is a site where the milk formation takes place. Milk formation takes place. Now, what kind of question they're going to ask you from this particular part? They will ask you from alveoli how this milk formation or whatever the secretion has been happening in the alveoli, how that gets transferred towards the tip of the mammary gland. ये वहां से आपके मेमोरी ग्लैंड के टिप तक आपका कहां कैसे जाता है, ये सवाल आपसे पूछा जाएगा या ये सवाल आपके सामने यहाँ पे आ सकता है. So you can have a look over here. You can see all these lobules. You have a memory lobe, right? So you have a large number of lobules. You have around 15 to 20 lobules can be seen over there, right? And each lobule is going to have a large number of your alveoli, which is called as my memory alveolus. Okay. Now what happens? Whatever the milk production happens in the alveoli, from there it will be sent into the memory duct. From there, from the alveoli, the milk production, whatever the secretion has been done over there, that will be sent into the memory duct. ये यहाँ से आपका आएगा into the memory duct के अंदर. आपको याद रखना है कहां से कहां पे जा रहा है. So from here it will get into the memory duct, and from the memory duct this secretion will get into the memory ampulla. So from the memory duct, the next channel in which it will get inside is going to be the memory ampulla. So from the memory duct, this secretion will get inside the memory ampulla. So that's the first thing you have to know. तो देखो यहाँ पे इन्होंने क्या मेंशन किया हुआ है. So यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो from the memory alveolus you will find the next connection is my memory duct, and now what you will find over here that memory duct will come together and will send the content into the memory ampulla, and then you will find a number of memory ampulla will come together and will ultimately dump the content into the lactiferous duct. तो यहाँ से आपका फिर आपका secretion आपका जाता है आपके lactiferous duct के अंदर. एक बार lactiferous duct के अंदर आ गया, then from there the baby is going to like suck out the milk through the nipple, is going to be sucking out the milk present over there. So this is something you have to know. आपको याद रखना है यहाँ पे कि आपका ये channel आपका कौन सा यहाँ पे. So सबसे पहले आप याद रखना that you have a large number of memory lobules over there, right? These lobules are 15 to 20 in number. Each lobule will have a large number of cells. What are these cells are called as my alveoli. Alveoli is a site where the milk production will take place. From here, the milk will be sent into the memory duct initially. From there, it can be sent into your memory ampulla. And from the memory ampulla, you can find them sending towards the lactiferous duct. So यहाँ से फिर आप अपना send कर हो जाता है आपका milk आपका towards the lactiferous. I'll just write over there lactiferous duct के अंदर. And so from that you can find the milk is going to ooze out through the outer opening of a nipple. It is going to ooze out and it will be used by the newly born offspring. So ये transport कैसा आपका यहाँ पर ये आपको यहाँ पे रखना पड़ता है. That's the main thing you have to know. So if you can see over here again, you can see the memory lobules can be seen, right? Then the first channel is going to be your memory duct, right? So from the lobule you have a memory duct from which it will get in, like from the tubule it will get into a duct over there, and then from the duct you will find it will be a memory ampulla, and then the number of ampullas will come together and will give rise to a single lactiferous duct, and that is how you are going to find the milk is going to be thrown out of the mammary gland. So function of mammary gland is something you find in all the female mammals, right? It's not only restricted to your human being. It is something you can find in all the like females mammals will have the mammary glands, right? These are paired structure that contain glandular tissue and variable amount of fat, something we have already discussed. इसके अंदर आपको फैट और ग्लैंडुलर टिश्यू आपको दोनों चीजें आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए आपको यहाँ पे मिल जाती है. Let's have a look at these statements. So glandular tissue of each breast has 15 to 20 mammary lobes, right? Each mammary lobe consists of a cluster of cells called as by alveoli, right? तो ये आपका इस तरीके से आपको रखना है. It will have alveoli. The cells of alveoli secretes milk which is stored in a lumen of alveoli. So वहां पे आपका बनाया जाता है milk और वहां पे उसे आप स्टोर करते हो. Then वहां पे एक चीज आप यहाँ पे ऐड कर दो. From the alveoli it will go into the mammary tubules. Something we have missed this part. It will go into the mammary tubules, and then from the mammary tubules of each lobe join to form the mammary duct. तो यहाँ पे एक चीज हमने यहाँ पे बीच में मिस की थी. That was my mammary tubules. ये ऐड करो यहाँ पे. So from the alveoli it will go into the mammary tubules, and then from there it will go into the mammary duct. From the mammary duct, what will happen? Several mammary duct are going to form a wider mammary ampulla. They're going to form a wider mammary ampulla, and from the mammary ampulla is connected to a lactiferous duct in the nipple through which the milk is sucked out by the baby. So ये है इसका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन पूरा, and that is something you have to know. और इसको आप डायरेक्टली ऐसे भी आप याद रख सकते हो. Mammary lobules, mammary tubules, mammary duct, then from their ampulla, and then from there your lactiferous duct. So this is something you have to know. Now why we are focusing on this multiple times? Because NEET में question इसके ऊपर based ही आएगा. If you happen to get a question based on this, you will find question based on the transportation of this particular, how this transportation from the lobules to your lactiferous ducts is going to take place. So you can find question based on that. So ये sequence आपको याद रखना है. This is a sequence which is going to be important for you. ठीक है? तो ये हमने यहाँ पे देख लिया. Now let's do one thing. Let's start with the question solving. अच्छा एक बात बताओ, हैंड रेज कर पा रहे हो आप लोग या नहीं कर पा रहे? हैंड रेज हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा?
सर हो रहा है.
हैंड रेज हो रहा है ना? एक बार करना तनिक, हैंड रेज करना. हो रहा है, ठीक है. ऑलराइट, सो नाउ you have this question number 16 in front of you. नीट 2011 का ये क्वेश्चन है. आराम से देख लो इस क्वेश्चन पे एंड देन रेज योर हैंड. गायत्री हैज रेज्ड हर हैंड. गायत्री ने हैंड रेज किया था लेकिन दिख नहीं रहा. तनिष्क हैज रेज्ड हिज हैंड. सब लोग देखो, सबको इसका आंसर आना चाहिए. ऑल ऑफ यू शुड बी एबल टू आंसर दिस. हाँ जी शिखा बताइए क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन बी.
ऑप्शन बी कह रहे हो आप यहाँ पे. तनिष्क आपको क्या लग रहा है?
सर ऑप्शन ए.
ऑप्शन ए आप यहाँ पे कह रहे हो. मंताशा आपको क्या लग रहा है?
सर ऑप्शन ए.
ऑप्शन ए. गायत्री कुछ कहना है आपको? सॉल्विंग गायत्री. ऑलराइट, अब मेरी बात ध्यान से सुनाओ. अब एक बात बताओ, जो लोग मुझे यहाँ पे ऑप्शन ए कह रहे हैं ना, यहाँ पे एक बात बताओ, ये 2 आपका एंडोमेट्रियम लग रहा है क्या? इट इज द आउटर मोस्ट रीजन ऑफ द यूट्रस. विल इट बी एंडोमेट्रियम?
पेरीमेट्रियम.
इट विल माय पेरीमेट्रियम. तो अगर ये मेरा एंडोमेट्रियम नहीं है तो यहाँ पे मेरा ऑप्शन ए तो हो ही नहीं सकता ना. समझ आ रही मेरी बात? तनिष्क एंड मंताशा, इज इट क्लियर टू यू? You cannot have this as option है ना, because 2 जो यहाँ पे लेवल क्या हुआ है, that's my perimetrium, that's the outermost layer of the uterus. So मेरा endometrium थोड़ी है वहाँ पे वो. तो ये तो मेरा यहाँ पे गलत हो गया. ये तो मेरा बिल्कुल गलत हो गया, राइट? बाकी मेरा सही हो भी तब भी मेरा ए तो गलत हो गया ना यहाँ पे. So that's going to be a wrong one. बी देखो, मेरा बी यहाँ पे क्या कह रहा है? बी मेरा यहाँ पे कह रहा है कि 3rd is my infundibulum. चलो ये तो सही है, राइट? 4th is my femori है, ये भी चलो आपका यहाँ पे सही है. And 5th is going to be the cervix. ये हाँ, ये भी आपका यहाँ पे आपको सही दिख रहा है, राइट? सो बी जो मुझे यहाँ पे लग रहा है, बी मेरा यहाँ पे काफी तक मेरा यहाँ पे करेक्ट है. तब भी आप बाकियों को भी आप यहाँ पे चेक कर लो. 4th यहाँ पे क्या है आप यहाँ पे? ओविडक्ट फनल. ओविडक्ट फनल है आप यहाँ पे 4th. 5th आपका यहाँ पे क्या है? यूट्रस. क्या आपको ये यूट्रस लग रहा है कहीं से भी? इज दिस अ यूट्रस? नहीं है ना बाबा, नहीं है ना. इट इज गोइंग टू बी द सर्विक्स ओवर देयर. तो मेरा 3rd भी मेरा यहाँ पे गलत हो गया, राइट? 4th मेरे यहाँ पे देखो 1 कह रहे हैं ये लोग यहाँ पे. 1 इज दे आर सेइंग एज अ पेरीमेट्रियम. क्या वन मेरा यहाँ पे पेरीमेट्रियम होगा?
नो सर।
नहीं होगा। सो वन मेरा पेरीमेट्रियम नहीं होगा, तो यहाँ पे क्या होना चाहिए था? वन मेरा क्या होना चाहिए था यहाँ पे?
एंडोमेट्रियम।
endometrium. One is the innermost layer, that will be the endometrium over there, and that is why you get to see कि मेरा ये भी मेरा यहाँ पे आंसर नहीं बन सकता। तो ऑप्शन बी मेरा बनेगा यहाँ पे एज अ करेक्ट आंसर, बिकॉज इसके अंदर तीनों लेबलिंग मेरे यहाँ पे सही है, इन्फंडिबुलम, फेमरिए एंड इवन द सर्विक्स। दिस वन इज गोइंग टू बी माय सर्विक्स। बेटा ये क्वेश्चन आने चाहिए। अगर आपको क्वेश्चन नहीं हो रहे देन दैट्स मैटर ऑफ कंसर्न। अगर नहीं आ रहे तो बताओ कि नहीं आ रहे, सो यू कैन रिपीट सर्टेन थिंग्स। अगर कोई चीज क्लियर नहीं है तो पूछ लो। क्या यहाँ पे दिक्कत आ गई आपको कि क्वेश्चन नहीं हो पाया? शिखा से तनिष्क, क्या यहाँ पे कंफ्यूजन आ गया आपको?
क्लियर हो गया।
क्लियर हो गया ना अब तो? ठीक है। गायत्री, समझ आ रहा है हम क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे? गायत्री, इज इट क्लियर टू यू?
Yes, sir.
ओके, सेम थिंग गोस फॉर मंताशा एज वेल। पूछ लिया करो, ठीक है, कुछ भी ऐसा हो तो। नाउ थिंक वाइजली एंड टेल मी द पार्ट ऑफ fallopian ट्यूब क्लोजेस्ट टू द ओवरी इज। द पार्ट ऑफ fallopian ट्यूब क्लोजेस्ट टू द ओवरी इज गोइंग टू बी what? So please raise your hand and try to answer this. So tell us Gayatri, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
Sir, option D.
ऑप्शन डी और ऑप्शन बी, which one?
D. D, sir. Infundibulum.
B for Batman. Okay. तनिष्क, क्या होगा इसका आंसर? तनिष्क इज नॉट देयर क्या? तनिष्क कहाँ गया? है तो सी। मंताशा, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन बी।
Yes, option B over here becomes the correct answer. There's a closest to my ovary. That's your option B over here. Right, बिल्कुल सही. Then now think wisely. It is based on the other part. It is based on the male reproductive part. If for some reason the vas efferentia in the human reproductive system gets blocked, if for some reason the vas efferentia in the human reproductive system is blocked, the gamete will not be transported from. The gamete will not be transported from. Again, you should be able to answer this. हमने किया था लास्ट क्लास के अंदर। शिखा, क्या होगा इसका आंसर? शिखा, गायत्री, अगर वास एफरेंशिया को अगर हम ब्लॉक कर देते हैं तो गैमेट कहां से कहां नहीं जा पाएंगे? टेल अस शिखा, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन बी।
शिखा श्योर, पक्का? गायत्री, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
Sir, option C.
आप लोग को ना अभी डांट पड़ेगी अभी, फिर आप बाद में बोलोगे कि बालाजी वाले से डांटते हैं। तनिष्क, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
ऑप्शन ए होगा।
ऑप्शन ए।
सर
ऑप्शन
ऑप्शन ए।
ऑप्शन ए होगा इसका आंसर। वी हैव डन दिस। इतनी जल्दी आप कैसे भूल सकते हो? वी हैव डन दिस ना, दैट आपको जो वास एफरेंशिया होता है, इट इज अ ब्रिज बिटवीन द रेटिटेस्टिस एंड द एपिडाइडिमिस। कुछ याद आ रहा है आपको? वी हैव डन दिस, दैट बिटवीन द रेटिटेस्टिस एंड योर एपिडाइमिस, इन दोनों के बीच में जो आपका जो ब्रिज यहाँ पे होता है, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी योर वास एफरेंशिया। तो अगर मैं इसको यहाँ पे ब्लॉक कर दूंगा, अगर मैं इसको यहाँ पे ब्लॉक कर देता हूँ, इसके अंदर अगर मैं जाम लगा देता हूँ किसी तरीके से इस वास एफरेंशिया के बीच में, तो क्या होगा? देन ऑब्वियसली माय मेल गैमेट्स विल नॉट बी एबल टू रीच टू द एपिडाइडिमिस। ओके, so that is why option A over here becomes my correct answer. The lactic cell found as cells as found in the human body are secretory source of. Again a simple question. Please raise your hand. Try to answer this. And मंताशा, मैं strongly recommend करूंगा कि आखिरी लेक्चर एक बार देख लेना, टाइम निकाल के कभी भी आप एक बार आखिरी लेक्चर पढ़ जाओ, देख जाओ जब भी आपको टाइम मिले तब, एंड जस्ट मेक सम नोट्स ऑफ इट, ठीक है, ताकि आपको वो सब समझ आ जाए। गायत्री, टेल अस, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
Sir, option B.
राइट, सो एंड्रोजन ओवर हियर बिकम्स अ करेक्ट आंसर। और एंड्रोजन का नाम यहाँ पे आपका क्या होगा?
टेस्टोस्टेरोन।
टेस्टोस्टेरोन, राइट। सो यस, ऑप्शन डी ओवर हियर बिकम्स अ करेक्ट आंसर, ठीक है। The shared terminal duct of a reproductive and a urinary system in the human male. The shared terminal duct of reproductive and urinary system in the human male is going to be what? तो shared terminal duct आपका इसके अंदर आपका दोनों का यहाँ पे कॉमन क्या हो जाएगा? यूरेथ्रा, यूरेटर, वास डेफरेंस, वास डेफरेंशिया। बताइए शिखा, क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन ए।
ऑप्शन ए, यूरेथ्रा इज गोइंग टू बी अ करेक्ट आंसर। So urethra is a common duct over here, जहां से यूरिन भी पास हो रहा है, जहां से आपके मेल गैमेट्स भी आपके पास होंगे। So yes, urethra becomes a correct answer over here. Now think wisely. Seminal plasma in human is rich in. Seminal plasma जो आपका होता है, that is my seminal fluid, वो किससे बना हुआ होता है? उसके अंदर क्या क्या चीजें आपको मिलती है देखने के लिए? So again, I have told you few things in the starting of the class. तो ऑप्शन को ध्यान से देखो एंड ट्राई टू आंसर दिस. कर सकते हो इसे आप, बिल्कुल कर सकते हो. समानल प्लाज्मा इन ह्यूमन इज रिच इन व्हाट? बताइए गायत्री.
सर ऑप्शन डी.
शिखा आपको क्या लग रहा है?
सर ऑप्शन डी.
तनिष क्या लग रहा है आपको? हाँ जी तनिष बताइए. तनिष अनम्यूट नहीं हो रहा आपका माइक. नहीं हो रहा, अभी भी नहीं हो रहा. Yes, it is your option D. You'll have a fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. You'll also find certain enzymes in that particular spinal plasma. Now tell me, ये fructose का काम क्या होता है? What is this fructose is known for?
सर सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी.
Source of energy to the your male gametes, right? Sperms के लिए. Very true. ठीक है. Bartholin gland is situated where? अभी हमने इसे देखा था. सब लोग इसके लिए हैंड रेज करेंगे. बार्थोलिन ग्लैंड आपको कहाँ देखने के लिए मिलता है? You have to raise your hand to answer this. ये तो करा जा सकता है, सिंपल क्वेश्चन है. इट इज नॉट समथिंग इज डिफिकल्ट. वी हैव जस्ट डन दिस. बताओ तनिष क्या होगा इसका आंसर?
ऑप्शन सी.
मंताशा क्या लग रहा है आपको इसमें आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन सी.
Right, option C. Yes, option C here becomes the correct answer. On the either side of the vagina. So on the either side of vagina, you have the Bartholin gland. Can Mantasha tell me what is the role of this Bartholin gland?
Sir, secret mucus like secretion, lubricant, vagina.
Right, and it works as a lubricant within the vagina. Right, very true. That is what this gland is going to be known for. Okay. True. Question number 13. क्वेश्चन नंबर 13. शिखा बताइए क्या होगा आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन डी.
शिखा टेल अस. आप कह रहे हो इसका ऑप्शन यहाँ पे डी है, मैंने मान लिया वो आपका सही आंसर भी है. मुझे बताओ शिखा, सर्टुली सेल्स क्या करते हैं?
सर प्रोवाइड्स नरिशमेंट टू द स्पर्म.
राइट, प्रोवाइड नरिशमेंट टू द डेवलपिंग स्पर्म को यहाँ पे नरिशमेंट बोलोगे, यहाँ पे प्रोवाइड करेंगे. क्वेश्चन नंबर 14. क्वेश्चन नंबर 14. तनिष्क बताओ क्या होगा 14 का आंसर?
सर ऑप्शन सी.
Right, option C here becomes my correct answer. Why? Question number 14 over here. ठीक है, that is something we have done. तो यहाँ पे हमने कुछ क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे सॉल्व किए. बहुत कम क्वेश्चन हमने सॉल्व किए, ज्यादा नहीं किए. You have to solve as many as questions, और जितने डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन हो सके उतने आप सॉल्व करो. बट आपके साथ एक कंसर्न यहाँ पे आता है कि आप लोग पुराना होमवर्क जल्दी सबमिट नहीं करते हैं. The sooner you do that, the more like we can share the questions with you, right? So अगर तनिष्क अगर अभी स्कूल बंद है तो you should make the most of it ना बाबा. Do in the like it won't take even half an hour. And all the people who has a holiday in the school, Gayatri, Shikha, right? अगर स्कूल में छुट्टी है अभी तो आधे घंटा लगता है, 45 मिनट्स लगते हैं वो असाइनमेंट सॉल्व करने के लिए. सॉल्व करो, आगे सबमिट करो. एक बार सबमिट कर दिया then the faculty can share with you the other assignments. ठीक है, जैसे कुछ लोगों ने कर दिया. Yes, you have done that. But Tanish, you also do the assignment and submit that. ताकि फिर इवन वी हैव अ क्लैरिटी कि अब मैं सेंड कर सकता हूँ मेरा दूसरा असाइनमेंट. ठीक है. एंड मंताशा ऑल्सो प्लीज गो टू द फर्स्ट लेक्चर व्हेनेवर यू गेट अ टाइम. आई नो यू हैव अ स्कूल, जब भी आपको टाइम मिलता है जस्ट एक बार लेक्चर देख लो, नोट्स बना लो. ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं उसके अंदर, डिफिकल्ट ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं. जस्ट गो थ्रू दैट. कुछ समझ आए तो पूछ लो एंड सॉल्व द असाइनमेंट एंड स्टार्ट एंड डू द असाइनमेंट ऑफ द सेक्सुअल डिफरेंस फ्लावरिंग प्लांट. हाँ, असाइनमेंट तो वो चैप्टर के हैं, वो करते रहना. बिकॉज वी वांट दैट यू गेट अ वेरी गुड स्कोर इन द टेस्ट. And that can only happen when you practice the question solving. इतने क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो कि वो like you are done with those questions. Like ऐसा हो जाए कि अब ये बहुत बार मैं कर चुका हूँ. So you just do that. ठीक है. So that is something you have to do. Now let's talk about my gametogenesis. Let's talk about my formation of your gametes. तो अभी हम लोग क्या करेंगे? We will discuss basically about my sperm formation. So when we discuss gametogenesis, right now we'll be discussing something in terms of my स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस. सो जब मैं यहाँ पे बात कर रहा हूँ गैमेटोजेनेसिस की, उसमें सब कुछ आता है वैसे तो. स्पर्म हो गया, ओवा हो गया, बट अभी हम बात करेंगे अबाउट द स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस. सो राइट नाउ वी विल डिस्कस स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस. अब स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस की अगर हम यहाँ पे बात करते हैं, सो दैट सिंपली मीन्स अ फॉर्मेशन ऑफ स्पर्म्स. That simply means formation of sperm, and this formation of sperm will take place in the testes. आप लोग जानते हो क्या ये आपका जो इवेंट आपका हो रहा होगा, दिस इवेंट विल बी टेकिंग प्लेस इन द टेस्टिस. कोई मुझे बताएगा फटाफट टेस्टिस में कहां पे ये हो रहा होगा?
Seminiferous tubules.
Very good. It will take place in the seminiferous tubule. Very good. This is something which will take place in your seminiferous tubules. Just wait a minute. Seminiferous tubules. Right? That is a site where I'll be finding this event will takes place. Okay. Now let's get inside the seminiferous tubule and let's try to see कि वहां पे मुझे क्या क्या देखने के लिए वहां पे मुझे मिलता है. Now when you see inside the seminiferous tubules, now what you get to see within the seminiferous tubule, you will have a presence of male germ cells. You will have a presence of inside the seminiferous tubule. You will have a presence of male germ cells. You will have male germ cells inside the seminiferous tubules. These male germ cells are also known as spermatogonia. Spermatogonia. जब भी आपके सामने टर्म आएगा spermatogonia, they are nothing but my male germ cells, right? And all the spermatogonia are going to be diploid in nature. सारे के सारे वो आपके होंगे सेल आपके यहाँ पे diploid. ये सारे जो सेल आपके होते हैं they are going to be diploid. अब initially क्या होता है? What will happen initially? The spermatogonia will undergo mitosis and will increase its number. So spermatogonia is going to undergo mitosis. To increase its number. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? You will get to see that after number of mitosis, you will find the number of spermatogonia are going to increase. That is what you will find happening over here. कि आपके यहाँ पे वहाँ mitosis करेगा, and because it is doing mitosis, so what will happen in a matter of some time, you will have a more number of spermatogonia. So आपके diploid cells का number यहाँ पे बढ़ जाएगा. You will have a more number of spermatogonia over there. So इनका number यहाँ पे आपका बढ़ जाता है. Okay. Now of this spermatogonia, some of them will behave like some of them will grow in size. So आपके अगर वहां पे 1000 स्पर्मेटोगोनिया है तो उसमें से कुछ स्पर्मेटोगोनिया समझ लो आपके उसमें से 500 जितने आपके होंगे, they will grow in size and will turn into a primary spermatocyte. So ये जो स्पर्मेटोगोनिया है मेरे यहाँ पे, they are going to slightly grow in size and now they will be called as my primary spermatocyte. So ये थोड़ा सा आपका साइज में ग्रो करेंगे और साइज में ग्रो करने के बाद you are going to call them as a primary spermatocyte. So now these will be called as my primary spermatocyte. Now primary spermatocyte are also going to be diploid in nature. भूलना मत. Primary spermatocyte is also going to be diploid in nature. ये सारे मेरे diploid cells हैं. So याद रखना, out of all the spermatogonia you have, some of them will grow in size and will turn into the primary spermatocyte. ज़्यादा कुछ हो रहा है, थोड़ा सा उनका size वहाँ पे increase हो रहा है. That's it. Okay. Now understand what will happen. This primary spermatocyte is going to be diploid in nature. मैं बार-बार ये इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ diploid क्योंकि आपको इसके ऊपर बेस क्वेश्चन आता है. Spermatogonia भी मेरा diploid था, primary spermatocyte भी मेरे यहाँ पे diploid है. Now understand what will happen. This primary spermatocyte will undergo meiosis 1. So my primary spermatocyte, now let me, ये page hold up नहीं करा, मुझे देखना था. So now you have a primary spermatocyte over here, and this primary spermatocyte can undergo these cells over here, which are my diploid cells. They will undergo something called as your meiosis. तो पहले आपका होगा यहाँ पे आपका meiosis 1. So first of all, you will have your meiosis 1. ठीक है. अब जब आप यहाँ पे meiosis 1 हो रहा है, so अभी हम क्या करते हैं, एक ही सेल को पकड़ते हैं, नहीं तो आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे वापस से. So let's say you have your one of the cell undergoes a meiosis 1, one of the primary spermatocyte. Now what will happen? Once it undergoes a meiosis 1, what will happen? You will get two cells. You will have two cells will be formed, and those two cells are my two haploid cells. The two cells are my two haploid cells, and these two haploid cells which have been formed over here is called as my secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte. So पहले था आपका प्राइमरी स्पर्मेटोसाइट डिप्लॉइड सेल, उसने किया मियोसिस 1 करने के बाद नाउ यू हैव योर secondary spermatocyte has been formed. So my primary spermatocyte has undergone meiosis 1 to give me the two cells of two spermatocyte have been formed. Now what will happen? So ये मेरे दो spermatocyte मेरे यहाँ पे बन चुके हैं. Now what happens? These two spermatocyte will undergo again meiosis 2. इन्होंने अपना complete करना आपका यहाँ पे meiosis. So now what will happen? They will continue and they will complete their meiosis 2. अब वो अपना खत्म करेंगे अपना यहाँ पे meiosis 2. अब जब वो करते हैं meiosis 2 खत्म, so after that you will find 4 cells have been formed. यहाँ से दो मिलेंगे मुझे और यहाँ से दो मिलेंगे. So now I'll be finding the 4 haploid cells have been formed. So your 4 haploid cells is getting formed over here. And these 4 haploid cells which have been formed over here, ये जो 4 haploid cells आपके यहाँ पे बने हैं, these 4 haploid cells are called as my spermatid. These are called as my spermatid. And they will be 4 in number. तो 4 मुझे मेरे यहाँ पे spermatid मेरे यहाँ पे बन चुके हैं. This is the first thing you have to know. This is the first event you will be finding happening over here. कि आपने primary spermatocyte को उठाया, it undergoes a meiosis 1. You get 2 cells, you get 2 haploid cells over there. These 2 haploid cells will undergo meiosis 2 and I will get 4 haploid cells. Those 4 haploid cells are called as my spermatids. तो इस तरीके से आपके यहाँ पे spermatids आपके हाथ में यहाँ पे बन जाते हैं. Right? This is how the spermatids have been formed inside the seminiferous tubule. अभी भी बहुत कुछ होना बाकी है, लेकिन पहले आपको इतनी बात आपको यहाँ पे याद रखनी है, right? So this is something you have to know. Your primary spermatocyte was my diploid cell, and if at all it is a diploid cell. पहले ये बताओ, क्या इतनी बात आपको यहाँ पे समझ आ रही है? यहाँ तक चीजें क्लियर है सबको?
Yes, sir.
आपको मुंह से बोलना पड़ेगा क्योंकि वो आपके
Yes, sir.
फेस लिए, ठीक है? So yes, you have your, that is the first event you find happening. This is what you will see happening over here. Now, once you are done with this, you have to know one thing, that when you had a primary spermatocyte that was having around 46 chromosomes, आपको वहाँ पे मिलते हैं. जैसे उसने meiosis 1 complete किया, now you have a secondary spermatocyte and they are going to be having 23 number of chromosomes, right? And then you find the meiosis will happen again over here, and then you have the 4 spermatids are been forming, और हर एक के अंदर आपको 23 chromosomes आपको यहाँ पे मिलेंगे. That is the general rule of the meiosis which you know. ठीक है, तो आपका यहाँ पे आपका हो चुका है spermatid formation. अब यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Now before that, let's me have a look at the picture over here. तो यहाँ पे आप पिक्चर आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हो. Again it is, you can see you have a spermatogonia, mitosis करेगा, then you will have a formation of my primary spermatocyte, और ये जो आपका primary spermatocyte आपके यहाँ पे होगा, ये करेगा आपके यहाँ पे meiosis 1, will have a secondary spermatocyte that will undergo meiosis 2 and will have the spermatids will be formed. अब इसके बाद आपके यहाँ पे क्या होता है? Let's try to see that. Once the spermatid are been formed, once your spermatid are been formed, जैसे spermatid बन जाते हैं, right? They will undergo some changes. अभी कैसा है मालूम है क्या? ये जो spermatid मेरे यहाँ पे बने, they are like just some गोल सेल मेरे यहाँ पे बने होंगे. So I have formed my 4 spermatid are been formed. Now this 4 spermatid will undergo some metamorphosis. Metamorphosis मतलब उसके अंदर आपको कई सारे changes देखने के लिए मिलेंगे, and these 4 cells will now look like a sperm. These 4 cells has to look like a sperm. You know ना how the sperm is going to look like. ये जो मेरे 4 सेल मेरे यहाँ पे बनते हैं, इनको एक sperm जैसा shape आपको मिलेगा देखने के लिए. They will have a shape of a sperm, and when this shape of the sperm is getting achieved, ये प्रोसेस आपको मिलेगा होते हुए, अगेन दिस विल बी हैपनिंग इन द सेमिनिफरस ट्यूब्यूल. और ये प्रोसेस जहां पे आपके स्पर्मेटिड कन्वर्ट किए जा रहे हैं इनटू स्पर्म लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, द स्पर्म लाइक स्ट्रक्चर व्हिच हैव बीन फॉर्म्ड ओवर हियर इज कॉल्ड एज माय स्पर्मेटोजोआ. इट इज कॉल्ड माय स्पर्मेटोजोआ. इसको हम बोलेंगे यहाँ पे एज अ स्पर्मेटोजोआ. और ये जो स्पर्मेटोजोआ आपके यहाँ पे बन रहा है, द स्पर्मेटिड converting into spermatozoa, this process is called as my spermiogenesis. This process over here is called as my spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. So spermiogenesis is a process through which you will be finding that my spermatid will convert into my spermatozoa. तो आपका जो spermatid आपका यहाँ पे it will convert into spermatozoa through a process of my spermiogenesis. ये बात आपको याद रखनी है. तो जब मेरा spermatid था उसका कोई शेप ही नहीं था, बट बाद में उसको कन्वर्ट किया जाता है. इट विल अटेंड अ सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ शेप and that event over here is called as my spermiogenesis and that is what we will finding in the spermatozoa. तो ये बात याद रखना. तो अगर आपसे कोई पूछता है, if someone asks you what is my spermiogenesis, then you have to tell them your spermatid will undergo metamorphosis and will convert into my spermatozoa and that process is called as my spermiogenesis. और ये चीज एक बार आपकी हो गई, then आप कह सकते हो कि आपके रियल सेंस में आपके स्पर्म यहाँ पे बन चुके हैं. Once the spermatozoa has been formed, then you can clearly say that my sperms in a real sense have been formed. क्या इतनी बात आपको यहाँ पे समझ आ रही है? Is this thing clear to all of you? क्या ये चीज आपको
Yes, sir.
ठीक है? और शिखा, गायत्री and तनिष्क as well, I hope it's clear to all of you. Okay? तो ये हमने यहाँ पे देख लिया. इसके एक और मैं आपको पिक्चर यहाँ पे दिखा देता हूँ. ये तो और आपका spermatozoa. So primary spermatocyte undergoing meiosis 1, giving you the secondary spermatocyte. That will undergo meiosis 2, will give me the again 4 मेरे spermatid. इस तरीके से आपको ये हो जाएगा. The spermatid are transformed into spermatozoa by a process called as my spermiogenesis. यहाँ पे देखो एक बिल्कुल गोल सा मेरा सेल था, अब मुझे एक वेल डिफाइंड स्पर्म का शेप मुझे यहाँ पे मिल चुका है. So that is something I have just found to be happening over here. तो पहले तो आप, मैं इससे आगे बढ़ूंगा नहीं, इसमें भी और चीजें ऐड होंगी, बट अभी हम इसे यहाँ तक ही रखेंगे. मैं बस आपको एक चीज यहाँ बताना चाहूंगा. The process of spermatogenesis will initiate when a boy hits a puberty. याद रखना, ये सारा जो इवेंट आपका हो रहा है ये आपका स्टार्ट कब होता है? When a boy is going to hit the puberty. As soon as the boy is going to hit the puberty, what will happen? There is going to be a release of the hormones, and those hormones play a very important role in the process of my spermatogenesis. तो ये बात याद रखना कि as soon as the boy hits puberty, which is going to be around at the age of 13 or 14, जैसे ही लड़के का puberty hit होता है, वो टाइम पे आपके गोनाड्स के अंदर you will find the process of sperm formation will initiate, right? तो इतनी बात याद रखो, प्लीज रिमेंबर अप टू योर स्पर्मियोजेनेसिस. इतना मैं चाहूंगा कि आप यहाँ पे याद रखो, इसके बियॉन्ड में आपको नहीं करा रहा, ठीक है? बट यू विल फाइंड नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स विल हैपन आफ्टर दिस एज वेल, बट इतना पहले आपको यहाँ पे याद रखना है, ठीक है? दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव बीन डन, राइट? अब अगली बार जब मैं आपके सामने इसके ऊपर बेस, अभी तक जो भी मैंने कराया है आपके साथ, वी हैव डन द मेल पार्ट, फीमेल पार्ट एंड अप टू दिस. अगर मैं आपके सामने इसको बेस 10 क्वेश्चन अगर आपके सामने रख रहा हूँ, देन आपसे 10 क्वेश्चन होने चाहिए. प्लीज टेक योर क्वेश्चन सॉल्विंग वेरी 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 सीरियसली. यही आपको लिबरेट करेगा, यही आपका इंश्योर करेगा कि आपको आपका नीट का रैंक मिले और एटलीस्ट आपका नीट आपका अच्छे स्कोर से आपका क्वालिफाई कर सको. अगर आपको नीट का ऑल इंडिया रैंक चाहिए, देन यू एक्चुअली हैव टू डेडिकेटली स्पेंड अराउंड लाइक 3 hours पर डे कंसिस्टेंटली solving questions for chemistry, bio and physics, and then only you can find your getting a very good score, very good rank. ठीक है? तो ये बात आप यहाँ पे याद रखना एंड प्लीज यहाँ तक आप पढ़ लेना एनसीईआरटी में से एंड मेक श्योर दैट यू रिमेंबर ऑल दोस थिंग्स. नाउ बिफोर वी क्लोज द क्लास, अब मेरा आपसे कुछ सवाल है, उसके आप फटाफट यहाँ पे आंसर दोगे मुझे. एक सवाल मेरे पास यहाँ पे ये है, इसको हम बाद में देखते हैं. वन क्वेश्चन फॉर मी इज गोइंग टू बी, यू टेल मी द कंप्लीट पाथवे ऑफ मेमोरी ग्लैंड राइट फ्रॉम योर मेमोरी लोब्यूल्स अप टू माय लैक्टिफेरियस डक्ट तक का. कौन बताएगा हैंड रेस करके पूरा पाथवे मुझे यहाँ पे? तनिष्क, चलिए बताना चालू करिए. सो यू हैव अ मेमोरी ग्लैंड एंड मेमोरी ग्लैंड इज गोइंग टू बी हैविंग कितने लोब्यूल्स होते हैं वहां पे?
15 to 20 लोब्यूल्स.
ठीक है, और वहां से आपका जो मिल्क सिक्रेशन होगा वो पहले कहाँ पे जाएगा?
सर मैम वो एल्विलाई होते हैं उसके अंदर सेल्स, उससे जाएगा मेमोरी ट्यूब्यूल में सबसे पहले.
ठीक
उसके
है.
बाद सर मेमोरी डक्ट में जाएगा, उसके बाद मेमोरी एम्पुला, देन वो मेमोरी एम्पुला एक तरफ मतलब इकट्ठा हो जाते हैं और लैक्टिफेरियस डक्ट बनाते हैं.
ओके,
तो उसके बाद निपल के थ्रू.
ठीक है, राइट, गॉट. ओके, ट्रू. तो ये आपका पाथवे. गायत्री आप बताओ मुझे पूरा पाथवे, आप मुझे बताओ कि यहाँ पे पाथवे कहाँ से स्टार्ट होगा और कहाँ तक जाएगा?
Sir, can you tell it again, sir?
The question is, you have to tell me the complete pathway of the memory glands. So it starts from the memory lobules and then the memory lobules, you have a number of cells which are my alveoli cells. So from there, what will happen?
So from lobes to alveolar cells to memory lobules and memory duct, memory column, and lateral ducts.
Right. So please remember this pathway all the time. This is a pathway which all of you have to remember. Now tell us, Shikha, that in the memory gland, not Shikha, let's tell us, Mantasha, in the memory gland, you have a glandular tissue. Along with the glandular tissue, what is the other thing you find in the memory gland, Mantasha? ट्राई करो, क्या हो जाएगा, ज्यादा गलत हो जाएगा आंसर. इतना क्यों लोड लेते हो गलत आंसर आने का? याद करो. अच्छा ठीक है, शिखा, you tell us what will be there.
So fat deposition.
Fat deposition will be there over there, right? Fat deposition will be seen in that particular region. Okay. Now next question is, which female reproductive organ, इसके लिए hand raise कर लें आप लोग, which female reproductive organ is going to be homologous to my clitoris? Which, okay, the question is wrongly framed. Clitoris is homologous to which male reproductive organ? So yeah, then you have to raise your hand. Clitoris is homologous to which male reproductive organ? बताइए शिखा.
So male penis.
Right. So male penis is going to be a correct answer for that. Okay, true. Then tell me over here that you have a female reproductive structure. What is birth canal is made up of? What are two things which actually make the birth canal? Please raise your hand to answer this. कौन सी दो चीजें होती है जिसके थ्रू बर्थ कैनाल बनाई जाती है, जिसको हम बर्थ कैनाल का नाम देते हैं? ओके, मंताशा बताइए.
cervical canal and vagina.
Right. They collectively we are going to call them as a birth canal. Very true. ठीक. Okay. True. Right. Which part of uterus is going to undergo rhythmic contraction at a stage of a childbirth? बताइए तनिष्क.
तो मायोमेट्रियम.
राइट, मायोमेट्रियम. ट्रू. अब जो भी हमने आज यहाँ पे किया है, हाँ राइट, अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ ऑक्सीटोसिन. राइट. सो जो भी आज हमने यहाँ तक किया है, प्लीज मेक श्योर कि उतना एनसीईआरटी में से आप पढ़ लो, अच्छे से उसे आप देख लो, और अगर आपको इसके ऊपर बेस्ड क्वेश्चन मिलते हैं, देन प्लीज यू शुड बी एबल टू सॉल्व दोस क्वेश्चंस. राइट. I think we'll be catching up again tomorrow. So I think we'll be going beyond this and we'll be solving some question based on this as well, right? But इसके अलावा मैं आपके साथ sexual reproduction flowering plant का एक और assignment share करना चाहता हूँ. So I'll be sharing that with you and please solve that as well. Solve करो और share करो ताकि मैं आपके साथ आंसर की share कर सकूँ and you can have a look at that. क्या सही है क्या गलत. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन ज्यादा सॉल्व करेंगे ताकि हमारा टेस्ट में अच्छा स्कोर बन सके. और वो तभी बनेगा when you are very clear with your concept. राइट. तो ये आप एक बार करें. तनिष्क, मुझे होमवर्क सेंड कर देना रात तक.
ओके सर.
मंताशा, आप होमवर्क सेंड कर पाओगे कब तक?
सर अभी थोड़ी देर में सॉल्व करके.
ठीक है, ऑलराइट, थोड़ी देर में शेयर सॉल्व करके आप शेयर कर देना. राइट. एक ये कल्चर ही बना लेते हम लोग. क्या